podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace. Joining us on today's show is a man who will be at the heart of the action in the India versus England Test Series, which begins on the 25th of January, the Barmy Army trumpeter Simon Finch. You can't help but feel energised listening to Simon, the professional musician known as Finchy, who along with his Barmy Army work has headlined at Glastonbury with Florence and the Machine and worked with the likes of Beyonce and Blur, to name just a few. Find out how Simon got his dream job with the Barmy Army, his musical background, his cricketing plans for 2024, together with his thoughts on the Indian tour and much more in All You Need Is Cricket and a Trumpet. To begin the pod, in proper Barmy Army fashion at the start of play, here's Finchy with a piece of Jerusalem. And to end the pod, look out for The Great Escape. Happy New Year, Simon.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Happy New Year to you.
How was your Christmas and New Year?
Christmas and New Year was, I have to say, a lot better than last year's. I'll fill you in. So last year's winter tour, as everyone knows, was to Pakistan. And there are lots of challenges involved in that part of the world in terms of eating and all sorts of things. And I'm fearless with food. And I went fully native, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I got through the whole 3.5 weeks with no problems at all. Absolutely fine. Anyway, last day, packing my suitcase, just getting ready to leave on the flight next morning, and then felt my stomach go, oh no. And, and then that was it. That was it. Well, I got home on the 23rd, and then I was in bed, couldn't eat a thing at Christmas, didn't really rise from my pit until when I had a gig on New Year's Eve last year. So this year was a lot better than last year's. So yes, all in all, a good Christmas.
And I've got to ask you, because I only picked this up the other day on video, that the film Love Actually 2003, did you get a chance to watch that again this Christmas?
Do you know what? I've never actually sat down and watched it all the way through.
For listeners, Simon was on Love Actually.
Yes, it's in one of the early scenes, the wedding scene. And you have the musician suddenly standing up at the back playing All You Need Is Love. And I was one of the musicians that stand up at the back. But I got quite a big close-up, actually, in that scene, because I was at the back door. I was right by the church door, and about two pews back from the rear. And Laura Linney, the actor, one of the star turns in it, she comes in late into the scene. That's part of the script. So a few of us had to turn around and go, and I gave her a bit of a juicy glare, just like, milking it, as an extra. And then they use a real close up of my sort of like, what are you doing coming here late face? But the other thing about that, very briefly, was I was sat for 2 days right behind Colin Firth, the actor. And bear in mind, that's a Christmas film. But they shot it the previous year during August, and it was shot in a small church just behind Park Lane, near Shepherd Market in London, behind the Hilton Hotel. And it was boiling hot, but we had to be dressed for winter, and they wouldn't let us really adjust our clothing for fear of continuity errors when shooting. Anyway, so Colin Firth was in front of me, but he had a little mini fan all day, which is very nice. So he would sort of occasionally sort of turn around, and he'd be chatting away. He's very friendly. Anyway, I think it was the lunch break on the first day. We had an hour off for lunch. And then he appeared back for the seconds for the afternoon session with a brand new red Dukes ball. Obviously, me being a cricket fan, so I was like, oh, right, you got a cricket ball there, Colin. he says, "Oh yes, I've just been up to just popped to Lily White's. I just the shop on those who don't know, it was a big sports shop. It might still be there, I don't know, on Piccadilly Circus." And he just nipped in there. I've just been because I'm opening the bowling for my local team at the moment, but I'm really unhappy with the quality of the balls. So I figure I'll just start bringing my own. So he got himself like his own bespoke Duke's ball from Lily White's in the break. It was quite funny.
Oh, that would.
Yes, I'm in that film.
Yeah, that would add a new dimension to the game if Jimmy Anderson brought his own ball to the match, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I know. Oh man.
Yeah. So you were at Keira Knightley's wedding in Love Actually. Yeah.
I was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't look anything like this. Like no facial hair. I mean, what is it? 20 years ago now.
2003. I had to check up. Yeah.
Yeah. 21 years ago. So yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff has flown under the river since then.
Right. Well, on this podcast, we're going to talk about your role as the trumpet player for the Barmy Army, your musical experiences. I'm sure you're going to tell me more, but you've worked with Adele, Blur, Beyonce. You've been at the Glastonbury Festival. We're going to talk about your love of cricket and look ahead to the England tour of India, which starts on January the 25th. That's the first test, only the first of 5. Yeah. But to start with, you've just come back from a tour of the West Indies during December. A nice place to be in December.
It certainly was. It was certainly a lot more agreeable than where I was for the previous month because I actually missed the first game of the West Indies tour in Antigua, the first ODI, because I was in Sweden with another band that I do, one of my regular gigs, which is called Johnny Cash Roadshow, which that's what it says on the tin. Fantastic band, but we do quite a lot of work in Europe, and we finished the tour. End of the tour clashed with the beginning of the Barmy Army trip to the Caribbean, and Chris Millard, my boss, very graciously allowed me to miss the first game, and I came and I left Sweden with the airport under about 18 inches of snow, and then came straight to the Caribbean. So as you can imagine, my suitcase was slightly bipolar, if you know what I mean. Well, not bipolar. What's the word? Schizophrenic or something. It was a suitcase with 2 halves. So yeah, I mean, it was amazing to be there. It was fantastic. I think that the Caribbean is the place to watch white ball cricket. It's amazing. It's just beautiful because the grounds aren't that large. You have each of the islands has its own feel, but there is a kind of an overarching vibe to the whole occasion. The local fans, even though that you don't see so many as you would have done maybe in the 80s and 70s, are still very passionate about the game. It's obviously a great destination for us English Brits. It's well established in that area. But it was fantastic to be there. And what I found interesting was that I really was not happy about missing the first game, but it's just the economics of the situation is just that I have other gigs to do. That's just the way it works out. But when I got there, but England lost the first game, obviously. When I got there, turned up at Antigua for the second game, I was so humbled by it, but it was just truly humbling, the amount of people that came up to me and were just saying to me, "Man, we missed you so much in the first game." Because I was like, "Why? Well, what because no one sang, because there was no trumpet leading the singing, and particularly when you have white ball games abroad, we don't get so many of the old school Barmy Army that know all the songs, who they tend to save their hard-earned cash for the red ball tours." And what with India being so close, they decided to not some of them decide to come. So without the trumpet, no one was singing, and it wasn't even in Jerusalem. And so many people came up to me. I mean, people I didn't even know were just saying, "Oh, you got the trumpeter. Oh my goodness. Oh, we all missed you. Where were you? What's going on? We need some singing. Come on, get the singing going." So that was just amazing. And that kind of really, it gave me the warmest of glows in my heart, and it really made me feel that I really just that extra little glean of love for what I do and all that I can help with.
It'll be a fabulous place for the T20 World Cup then, the Caribbean and the USA.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I don't know if I'll be going on that as of yet because of the way things work within the Barmy Army organisation. There's economic things to take into account, and whether we'll be taking up many of our tour group with Barmy Army travel. But yeah, God, please, I want to go back out there again with them. But it was a great series. I mean, it was good fun. I mean, I missed the first game, and then the second we won. And so that added a nice little kind of edge to the context to the kind of the nice comments I had from people before about not being there and missing me. And then we went to Barbados. And I mean, Barbados for day night cricket is just amazing. It's the best. It really is fantastic. The atmosphere, there's a lot of drums, a lot of music, a lot of great smells, a lot of sights. Everyone's having a great time. It's brilliant.
Well, my friend Roland Butcher, who's often on this podcast, will love to hear you say that Barbados is the place for a night cricket match.
Yeah, for day night, yeah, for a night game, yeah, it's just the best. It's fantastic. Really, really, really great.
And I got a photo of you via my friend who I'm going to shout out, Roger Talbot, who like me used to work for Barclays Bank. So okay. Not a shout out then for Barclays Bank, but a shout out that Roger met you at the game in Barbados.
Oh, okay. Did he mention your name?
I don't know. He should have done. So he sent me a photo of you and himself. So he was obviously more interested in getting a photo of himself with you, wasn't he? Yeah. I think
your name popped up. I think he mentioned it because I said, "Oh, do you know so-and-so from? Do you know Stephen Wallace from? He runs a podcast." Oh yeah, so yeah, interesting. I meet so many people. That's the thing about cricket. Being in the Barmy Army particularly, is that I've met so many fantastic people in walks of life that I would not normally come across in my world as a musician, in my kind of, I don't like the word bubble, because it's got a slightly derogatory kind of nature to it. But in my scene, in my circle, I'm either out working with musicians who have a kind of similar viewpoint, a lot of things, in terms of music and also politics and just outlook on life, or my family. So it's not, when I go out on the road with the Barmy Army, I'm talking to so many fantastic people who are very successful in all sorts of things, whether it's they're high-flying solicitors or they run waste management companies or they're old school teachers who've retired or whatever. And you've all got fantastic stories to tell. And that's one of my most gratifying things about being involved with the Barmy Army is meeting all the fantastic fans who just love cricket, who just there spending, particularly when you go abroad, that people are spending a lot of money to go away and watch England abroad. And to have these people around us who just love cricket, it's amazing. It's brilliant.
So how did you get this job with the Barmy Army then? I mean, Billy Cooper had done it for 15 years. How did you find out Billy was going?
Well, it was on telly, wasn't it? It was on TMS and it was on Sky. I mean, obviously I've been a pro trumpeter for as long as Billy has. I mean, if not a little bit longer actually, because I'm a little bit older than him. But being a massive Test cricket fan since the age of 16, probably 15, 16. I knew who he was. I mean, we're on the same scene. He's more of a classical player than more of the classical scene to me, and I'm on the commercial pop jazz side. So how paths hadn't actually crossed. We might have met in a pub a couple of times, but we've also got lots of mutual friends. So I knew about Billy. I knew there was trumpet involved in Barmy Army, and I was thinking, I'd love to do that. I just love. But of course, he's not going to quit that, is he? I mean, that's the best gig in the world. And then, newsflash. Billy Cooper has decided to put away his trumpet with the Barmy Army forever. I was like, what? Oh my goodness. Well, okay, right. What? There's, that would be just the dream. So I got in touch with Chris Millard. I just sent an email to info@barmyarmy.com. It would have been probably January I think it would have been late January, before lockdown. And Chris Millard sent an email saying, "Hello, my name's Simon Finch. I don't know if I'm emailing about the fact that Bill Cooper's stepped down, and are you looking to replace him with another trumpet player? Have you got anyone in mind? If not, can I throw my hat into the ring?"
And I've been on Love Actually.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah, I've also been in Zingzillas. If anyone knows what that is, it was a CBeebies music. Massive, basically like men and women in massive kind of weird animal suits. It was about a music show on CBeebies for many years. But anyway, that's another one. You can look it up on YouTube. It's there somewhere. So I got in touch with Chris and I said, oh, by the way, here's a list of who I love Test cricket. I love white ball cricket. I love cricket, blah, blah, blah. By the way, I've played with X, blah, 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 what I've done. I sent a couple of links, I think, to YouTube clips of me playing with, I think one was Liam Gallagher. And I think the other one was a clip of me playing with, might have been Blur. I can't remember who it was. Might have been Blur. Might have been Florence and the Machine. But Chris sent me an email back that evening saying, oh, hello, mate. Yeah. Oh, no, we're all looking. Yeah, we haven't got anyone in mind yet. I'm in London next week. Did you want to, because the company was based in Sheffield at the time. I'm in London next week to have a meeting with somebody. Do you want to get together for a coffee and have a chat about it all? You can imagine. I was over the moon. So yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, cool. I'll see you next week. So we had a chat, got together, met near King's Cross, in London, had a coffee and a chat. He sort of tested me out a little bit about what I knew about cricket, just by casual chat, like you and I did before we started recording. Got on pretty well. And then he said, okay, right. Well, do you want to do this summer? We'll try you out this summer. And of course, I was just like, my goodness. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't have got my hat on. I felt so big-headed, It was just fantastic. And then, of course, the great zombie apocalypse became upon us.
There was no summer, was there?
No, there was no summer. There was no summer at all. There's nothing for anybody. And that was it. And then I just didn't know what I was going to do. There was just the kind of the waiting for it. And, people change, people's priorities change, people change their mind about stuff, other opportunities become apparent. And I was thinking, I hope they don't find someone else, in this time. But then I did a few Jerusalems from my living room on the Barmy Army Facebook page, like Facebook live things. It was like, hello. I'm Finchy, the new trumpet player, and doing Jerusalem. There's sort of Sky TV in the background in my living room at home, with a bit of a bucket hat on and stuff, and did that like every morning of each Test match, first Jerusalem of the day, because that's the tradition. Of those who don't know about the Barmy Army match, we always do Jerusalem after the first ball of every day, and after the first ball of each innings. So that's either once or can be 3 times in a day, depending on how juicy the pitch is. Yeah. So that was it. And then, so he tried me out. I kept in touch, was doing a few bits and pieces for them, or, during the whole lockdown scenario, bits of recordings of the things. We did a thing with, on St. George's Day, we did a thing with Stephen Fry, when Stephen Fry, recited Jerusalem as a poem to camera, and I overdubbed me playing trumpet in the background with him. And that was a thrill, because he's one of my heroes. I love Stephen Fry. I mean, who doesn't love Stephen Fry? I mean, he's amazing. So did that. And then the following summer, it was the New Zealand series, and it was the Edgbaston Test. It was the big government testing event where we all had to show up with our papers and proof of
we were in zones, weren't we, that time?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And we had so anyway, they tried me out at Edgbaston for the New Zealand game, and it was that was it. I was there. I was involved, and it was it was brilliant. It was just the most amazing thrill ever. As I've said, so anyone who will ask me, people say people say to me, like, they say, "Oh, you've headlined Glastonbury, and with Florence and the Machine, you've done whatever, and you've played with Kanye West and Jay-Z and Beyonce and people like that." But I can honestly say, hand on my heart, that nothing comes close ever, and I don't think ever will do, to that first Jerusalem I played on that Thursday afternoon, Thursday morning at Edgbaston. The feeling, the amount of the fear, the nervousness, and immense pride that I felt at that moment was like, I don't think I'll ever feel that again. I've never felt nervous playing the trumpet since I was about 13, but I was shaking like a leaf beforehand, because I know I knew what it meant to everybody, and I had to get it right. Just had to get it right. Otherwise, people were saying, "Oh, this new guy, he's not as good as Billy." I mean, that obviously goes on. That went on in my head. It's all mental, it's all my own kind of like a psychodrama. But of course, people were comparing me, and that's totally natural, because people don't. But it's something new, and it means a lot to a lot of people. The Barmy Army and their love of cricket, it means so much. It means so much to them, and I understand that they will be a little bit, oh, who's this guy? But in all honesty, it's not been like that at all, really. It's been amazing. The people have been so lovely and so welcoming, so helpful. I've had so few naysayers, and they're usually drunk ones who aren't even in the Barmy Army. They're just people at the cricket because it's a day of drinking. That's the only time I get any trouble.
Today, we discuss Miro. Today, I want to talk about the hellscape that is technical diagramming, right? Everybody's nodding their heads right now. And there is a potential solution that I want to share. There was one name that several people brought up. I did some digging, and it's kind of nuts how much this program Miro has for developers. I have to share this. It could potentially be a game changer for you. So my favorite part about Miro is that half the work is already done. Like right now, typically we spend hours starting diagrams from scratch, gathering information. You get buy-in from every team. That's a lot of work to do. But Miro has a full set of integrations with the tools you're probably already using. And they also offer open APIs and SDKs for custom solutions for all those niche diagramming use cases we have to do, right? So the end result is the same, but it doesn't take forever. It's a massive, massive time saver. I'm transforming basic flowcharts and network architectures, and it all lives in one place. So are you using Miro? Have you used it? I want to hear. That's MIRO.com.
So what's your musical background, though? Just going back a bit. Have you always just played the trumpet or other instruments?
No, I started. I probably started. It was when I was in infant school. I don't know did you ever play the recorder at school?
Yes, I did play the recorder. Badly.
Black thing with cream coloured little mouthpiece. I used to get them free at school, and I got one of those. I would have been about 5 or 6 years old, maybe, and just kind of got into it. But it was a little bit of competition in the class. I remember it between a couple of my classmates who could go away and you could come back with a new song. New little ditty they've learned. So I started on that, and then I moved to guitar. I played acoustic guitar for a little while when I've been about 7 or 8, and 9 maybe, and then drums. Still play a bit of drums now. In fact, if I had my way, I would have been a drummer, to be honest. But my dad didn't like the idea of me having drums in the house, so he put the kibosh on that one.
We had drums in Love Actually as well, didn't we? As well, so the connection.
Did we?
Yes, yeah. Little boy, Liam Neeson's son.
Really?
I never thought I'd get Liam Neeson in a cricket podcast, but there we have it.
No, or even Love Actually for that matter.
Yes, that's right.
But then I started playing euphonium, which is it's like a sort of mini tuba. So it sits on your knee and it's got 3 valves there, and you hold it. For those who are listening to this, I've got no idea what I'm talking about because I did lots of hand gestures. But anyway, so I played that, but it was too big, and I was only 9 years old. Or 10 years old, and it was too big to carry for school. So my dad said to me one day, hey, there's a chap at work who's selling a trumpet for £25 with a case, 2 mouthpieces. Do you want to try that, son? And I went, yeah, Dad, I'll have a go on that. And that was when I was age 10. And yeah, and then 40 years later, I'm here now. But that's how I started music. I mean, my dad was big fan of music, never a musician himself, not until I started playing, when he started learning trombone, actually, with the British Airways brass bands. My dad worked for British Airways. And we grew up around in the environs of Heathrow, around Feltham, Hounslow, Ashford, Staines. That's where the area we lived. And they had a very good, strong music program. So I had free weekly brass lessons at school. And my dad loved jazz, big band jazz, that big band sound, the Stan Kentons, the Buddy Riches, the Count Basie's, that kind of stuff. So I was very aware of how the trumpet sounded around me every day. And he was very supportive. And also Mum used to drive me around to band practice. So my parents were very supportive. So that's how I got into it. And I sort of went to all the bands in Hounslow Borough, where I went to school, and then into Surrey County, which had again a very strong music program. When I moved to Staines, Middlesex, which came under the Surrey auspices in terms of education. So did that, and then I joined the National Youth Jazz Orchestra, and then did that from about sort of 17 through to about 24, 25. On and off. Then I went to Leeds College of Music, did a degree in jazz, contemporary and popular music, and then finished there, and then moved back to London in 95 to do a 1-year postgraduate jazz course at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama in Barbican, London. And I'd always been jazz was kind of not my first love in music. When I was growing up, it was, when you were a kid, very young, you just listening to like stuff that's Bay City Rollers and stuff like that. And then I got into the Beatles massively when I was about, would have been about sort of 9 or 10, maybe even a bit younger. My mum had some Beatles 45s, so I put them on.
All You Need Is Love as well. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There it is. Full circle. Nice. I actually know some of the musicians that played on that original Beatles recording. Yeah. They're still going, those old boys. And then got into that. Then I got into jazz, and then that was it really. And then I was into stuff like Dire Straits, and I was into kind of Electric Light Orchestra and bands like that as well. They're quite sort of big, kind of epic, kind of musical entities. But yeah, that's it really. I mean, I've just been also, I mean, in music, I'm not just a trumpet player as well. I'm also a record producer. As you can see, I'm in those who are watching at all will see.
I must put some of this on video. Yeah. It's a very short clip. Yeah.
I will see around me. I'm in my kind of music studio / practice room. I used to be a DJ as well. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I used to be a house DJ. The days of vinyl, 2 vinyl decks. As you can see, there's one there. And I've got my keyboard there. And then behind the camera, there's loads of equipment and stuff that you can't see. But yeah, so I still produce, I'm a record producer. I make dance music and pop music. Plus I have my own project called Schwa, which is a kind of a sort of esoteric electronica project. So I've always been I've had a wide range of musical influences.
So then how did you get to be playing for or with Blur, Adele, headlining at Glastonbury?
Through being how can I say, yeah. It's a question that people ask. It's a sort of parallel question to how do you get work as a freelance musician? And it's through a network of like-minded and fellow musicians that you get to meet along the way. And like, for example, when you go to music college, you meet lots of people your own age in your year who are going to be professionals, and then you go in the professional world, and then we start passing work around to each other. So I got through Blur. It was through the saxophone player. The news that they replaced their brass set. They want a new brass section. And the management got in touch with a saxophone player somehow. I still don't know what the connection was, saying, can you fix us a brass section for an upcoming project, involving Damon Albarn? And I knew the sax player well. We were in the brass section in the West End show Jersey Boys together. Like, I did Jersey Boys for 8 years, in the West End, London. I was in the pit orchestra of that. And he was the saxophone player on that. And he said, just been asked to do this Damon Albarn thing. Do you fancy coming along and auditioning? And so yeah, sure. Absolutely. So we got 4 brass players, and then we went to the audition, and they said, yeah, okay, you got the gig. And it turns out it was actually Blur. It wasn't, we had to sign NDAs and all sorts of things. It's very hush hush. So that's how we got the Blur thing. So it's word of mouth. It's having connections built upon ability and affability, I'd say, as well. Skill.
Have you got a favourite night? I mean, how does it compare playing, say, at Glastonbury and for these famous artists, and then, being, well, I was going to say Lords then, but not Lords, but other cricket grounds around the world?
Well, as I alluded to before, I mean, the original Jerusalem was like nothing else. It was just, I'd never experienced it, that serious amount of joy, fear and pride all in one. For me, greatest nights on stage are generally the ones that are the smaller bands, the bands that I've done and gigs in smaller venues, when you can really feel this hot, sweaty, you can really feel the audience right on top of you. The band's cooking, the band's grooving. And the whole room is like one body just heaving together. Sometimes I must feel that, and I think a lot of musicians do, city session musicians who aren't part of a band as such, you brought in as a hired hand to augment what's already there, which is how I worked with Florence and the Machine, for example. I was brought in to augment the brass section because she suddenly got the headline gig at Glastonbury, and they wanted to bump up the brass section a bit. So coming in on those, you're not really part of the organisation as such. Although we did a few warm-up gigs for that, you're not you're kind of, and it's all about the artist. It's about Florence. You're just basically there to turn up, get it right first time, be a decent chap, be professional, and be, and get on with people, and play the music well, and then go, put your invoice in, get paid. Thank you very much. So there isn't that kind of deep connection with the music. Whereas with bands that I'm in, like small bands that are just for fun, that's where the heart really starts beating. And the same with the Barmy Army. That's where it's my true love. It's I've managed to somehow, my life has turned into a place where I've managed to pull together my two biggest loves, aside from my family, and that's trumpet and cricket. And so it's the best of both worlds.
And England have got 17 men's tests this year, and and we also mentioned that last summer you played at the Women's Ashes. How many of those test matches and women's games do you think you'll be playing at this year?
I will be doing men's tests. I will be doing 14, I reckon.
Wow!
Because Lords always get 2 a year, don't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Don't know why they get 2, but they get 2. And I'm not allowed in. There's no Barmy Army activity allowed there. I don't allow tour groups in. So apparently, but I'm not sure that's actually true. But anyway, cut. And Trent Bridge. Trumpet is persona non grata at Trent Bridge for some bizarre reason. So
you're doing all the other 14 matches then? Yeah. Yeah.
So there's 3 of the home summer plus the away one. So you've got the 5 in India, 3 in Pakistan, 3 in New Zealand, plus 3 of the home summer. And if my maths is correct, that's 14, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And will you get to do some of the women's games? You did the Women's Ashes last year.
Don't know yet. I hope so. If there are any women's games, I do hope so, because I really enjoyed it and started to get a nice rapport going, and we had with the crowd, and the crowd appreciated it, and we had some new songs written for the players, which was great. Because that's part of the Barmy Army thing, is songs. They're our songs, the songs that we write. So hopefully, but it's going to be a busy year.
Is it tiring? 6 or 7 hours playing a trumpet?
Well, I'm not really playing for 6-7 hours. I mean, I'm present mentally for 6 or 7 hours a day, and that's actually kind of in some way more tiring. And also, there's the whole social side of it. Shock horror that goes on with when you're all away. Particularly, I mean, on test matches, you've got obviously 4 or 5 days, so there's something going on every night somewhere with some members of the army. Plus, we also have our Barmy bingo parties, which we had which we have, and these are the things that are tiring. It's what goes on after the day, because I can kind of pace myself because I'm in control of how much I play. Apart from the odd little kick in the backside saying, "Come on, Finchy, play so and so right now." Oh, sorry. So that's the tiring bit. Is kind of keeping it on a 5-day thing. Having doing the full day, then having a few drinks afterwards, and then some food, and then some bit of socialising. Back first thing in the morning. Can't be late. Got to be there 11 a.m. For every start every day. That can be a bit tiring. But actually playing the trumpet itself, not so much. The most tiring part of playing the trumpet is when Mark Wood's in the scene, in the side, and we're bowling, because we do his song "Shake It Up, Woody," which is the only song that we play round and round in a loop for the entire over, which is based upon Twist and Shout, for those that have not heard it, and it goes on and on. And of course, Woody's got quite a long run up. So it's a long walk back. So the over takes a long time. And then if there's a fielding change within the middle of the over, at the middle of it, I'm thinking, oh God, please don't jump off my list. It's like a deep burn workout for my chops, a Woody song. So that's when that's when I earn my corn at moments like that.
Do you just know tunes? Randomly we'll hear Neighbours and EastEnders coming out and things like that. Do you just know the tunes? Yeah, I do. I think it's just being a musician and coming from a jazz background, when improvisation and playing by ear is the ability to play by ear is paramount and is part of the job.
then yeah, I could just, if I know a tune, if I could sing it, I could definitely play it. Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes it's just, I do get sometimes, and I like to react with what's going on in the crowd. So for example, during the test series of 20, the home series of 20, what was it, 22? Yeah, right. Yeah, 22 with South Africa were over. I had the South African fan touring party. I was hanging out with them and going over there and playing Africa by Toto. Or when we were in South Africa for the ODI series earlier last year, there's a big South African tune called La Sloppy. And so I learnt that tune just so I could go and hang out with the South African fans and get them singing and clapping and going along, trying to bring everyone together, because that's what I really truly love. When I'm out there, is bringing people together, because that's one of the great things about cricket. Obviously we have the tribal thing going on and the partisanship of it, but at the same time there's a mutual respect. Even the England and Aussie fans, there's so much mutual respect. So part of my job is going across and making like the home fans almost feel like they're involved with what we're doing as the Barmy Army when we're away. And
the players love their different tunes. And do you have to practice new ones when we get new players as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have anyone is able to, if anyone is able to write anything for a new player, all suggestions are gratefully received. And you can post them on Twitter or send them, And
that can easily happen now with touring parties. And this England touring party, we've got new players, haven't we? And they could suddenly be in the side, couldn't they?
That's it. So obviously the challenge is coming, because sometimes we don't know who's going to be in, who's going to actually make the first 11 out of the squad. So sometimes a player won't have a song for a couple of matches. And then particularly on tour, when everyone's together and, you're having a few drinks afterwards, and someone will get the pen and paper out or get the Apple notes out or whatever and start going, right, we need a song for Ray and Ahmed. Right. Any ideas? And funny enough, things just come. We've got a few people in the Barmy Army. Funtime Tony is one of the guys. Tony Emerson. He's one of the main authors of songs. We had a new song for Liam Livingston, which was contributed by just a fan in Barbados. This shit was really good, which is based upon it must be live, madness. Must be love. And so stuff is a challenge, but I don't really get involved so much in the songs, writing the songs. I try to. I'm not very good with lyrics. I'm good with melodies. But yeah, I'm not a lyrics man, really. Well, I'd like to be.
I wanted to get that in because I had a recent podcast where I spoke to Dennis Amiss, who played for England in the 1970s. I asked him, would he have liked to have played cricket with the Barmy Army, having a tune for himself? And this is what Dennis had to say.
Yeah, that would have been terrific to play in front of them. Really motivate you and give you a lot of encouragement. And yeah, that would have been terrific. I can only see the good that the Barmy Army would bring, and great supporters, and get behind you, especially when the going got tough.
A song for Dennis Amiss.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
Have you got a favourite player, Simon, from the past who you'd like to have played a Barmy Army song for?
Oh, an England player. Who's my favourite England player? Do you know what? That's an interesting question. No one's ever asked me that before, and I've never even thought about it. Oh, there's... who are my favourite England players? I mean, everyone loved Ian Botham, didn't they? Well, that's just so obvious.
That would be a good one if we got an old England player watching a game, then you could play a Barmy Army song for an England player who's no longer playing.
Yeah. Well, we've had some posthumous, a couple of posthumous ones, not lyrics, but tributes when the great Bob Willis passed on, and there was at the Blue for Bob events at Edgbaston. And Bob had a great love of Bob Dylan and Wagner, so I always play a bit of Bob Dylan. In fact, there was a duet between myself and members of the Barmy Army. They're English, they're Anglo-Indians. Not Anglo-Indians, but they're of Indian heritage living in England. We did a duet of Blown in the Wind for Bob. And also, whenever I play Blue for Blood, I always play a bit of some Wagner, like dum 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 dum, something like that. But no, I can't think of anyone that I just. There must. I mean, if I sat down and think about it, you know,
you've got the Sky commentators; they could all have a. Although I suppose some of them probably have got their old ones, I think, because
they have, yeah.
Nasser and Michael Atherton would have played with the Barmy Army, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it was Nasser Hussain. Everyone knows his name. He's Nasser Hussain. It's not exactly Wordsworth, but it got the job done. But yeah, there's some, but a lot of the early Barmy Army songs, I think, were obviously the Barmy Army spiritual home is in Australia in terms of the tours, and a lot of the kind of funny ones, the really good ones, are aimed at the Australians. Some can't be repeated on air,
That's right.
But there are some. I mean, some funny ones, the cleaner ones that are properly funny. But yeah.
But now India, first test 25th of January. Last test finishes in theory, the 11th of March. But knowing Bazball, it probably won't. But how much are you looking forward to India?
Oh, immensely. I'm leaving on the 22nd of January. And going to be away until the 14th or 15th of March. Thank the Lord that I've got a very understanding other half, and she's amazing. I mean, the fact that I'm away for over 7 weeks, is just testament to how great she is.
You've got lots of travelling when you get there, haven't you?
Yeah. So flying to Hyderabad. So we've got Hyderabad, and then I'm getting the train across to Visakhapatnam, aka Vizag, which is on the East Bengal coast, Bay of Bengal coast, and then we go from there to Rajkot over in Gujarat on the west, north of Mumbai, and then we go from there to Ranchi in Jharkhand, which is the hometown of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Ranchi, and then we go from Ranchi up to Dharamsala. Up in the north, in the foothills of the Himalayas, for the end of it. There's 2 back-to-back tests, and then there's a long gap. Then there's a test. Then there's 2 back-to-back tests, a long gap, 2 back-to-backs, a long gap, and then a final test. It's a lot of travelling.
So what will you do in the long gap?
Decompress, probably. Do some trumpet practice. In a hotel room with a practice route to kind of keep my chops in for when I get back. So I've got a lot of work when I get back as well with various bands that I do. But yeah, when I do, I've got, my other half's Indian. And I might, her aunt lives in London, but she's also got a place in Goa. And I think she's probably going to be in Goa in March. So I might go and stay with her for 4 or 5, fly over to Goa for 4 or 5 days and stay at her apartment over there and go and hang out there for a bit on my own, or with anyone else who wants to join me. So I'll probably do that, but I'm going to spend on the big gap between Ranchi and Dharamsala. I'm just going to get up to Dharamsala and spend that whole time there. But I'll basically be there for 2.5 weeks in one spot, just because I've heard it's just the most stunning place. I mean, we've got a lot of Barmy Army coming out just for that test. A lot of interest for that one. I think we're taking out about, as part of Barmy Army travel, I think we've got about 350 coming out with us who are doing it across all 5 tests. Plus, there'll be the Barmy Army independent travellers who are members, fee-paying members, and get all the benefits, but they choose their own travel plans. Because they're very experienced in these things. But then Dharamsala, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't Barmy Army members, but are massive cricket fans who are going to Dharamsala test, because there's a Barmy Army in India Facebook group, and there's a lot of activity on there, and there's a lot of people just saying they're going to that one. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be quite something. I'm looking forward to I'll get a chance to meet some of Prithi's family out there.
You must make sure you don't lose your trumpet.
Oh, you heard about the time in New Zealand?
Yes, the New Zealand cricket ball were good though, weren't they?
Oh, they were amazing. They were just fantastic. For those that don't know, which are probably most people actually. For the five of you that do know the story, just turn off now. We were at Mount Maunganui, and it's sort of day-night test, wasn't it? And it was that third evening when Stuart. Oh no, was it fourth evening? Third evening when Stuart Board under lights went rampant and I think bowled the first four wickets, all out bowled. So we were up on the hill. And it was just, we were going mental, there's like a couple of hundred of us just in a clump on the hill going, I was playing and whatever. And then in the middle of it, just some random local chap, kind of sort of youngish, stag do-ish kind of vibe, just steamed into the middle of us and then just grabbed my trumpet out of my hands and ran off with it, around the perimeter. You can't even begin to imagine what I felt. Suddenly was just immediate shock horror. I was like, oi! So like, I just took chase, and people were like, what's he running after? And then some of the guys saw what happened. It was late in the day. He was a bit worse for wear. I think it was one of those things where he went to his mates, hey mate, hold my beer. What's this for a minute? And he ran off and nicked my trumpet. But managed to run after him, was keen not to hurt him, but at the same time wanted my trumpet back. Thankfully, it's all grass verges at Mount Maunganui.
Yeah, so I've been. It's one of the grounds I've been to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's beautiful. That's a
fantastic ground.
Really, really beautiful. Followed him round, managed to trip him up, and he went flying forward, fell on the grass, but on top of my trumpet. And then a couple of the bigger Barmy Army guys who'd seen what happened came and helped me and held him down. But he wouldn't let go of my trumpet. I was like, okay, mate, very, very, very fine. And give me the trumpet back. It was getting squashed and bent in this whole melee. But at the same time, didn't want to. He didn't deserve getting his teeth knocked out or anything for my trumpet. I mean, it's just, so it's like, trying to get the trumpet off him, but he wouldn't let go. It's like, come on, mate, let go. It's like, no, it's mine now, sort of thing. I was just like, and then security came in, thankfully, and managed and carted him off and got my trumpet back, but it came back in a bit of a state. I went off just to our HQ across the road, just like crestfallen and really angry and hurt, and, just felt it was so unedifying, the whole experience. And then I've forgotten his name. It's Henry Nichols, his brother. He's the head of the Cricket New Zealand's PR department, basically. And he got in touch with Chuck Adolphi, who works at the Barmy Army, as our social media content creator, and said, look, we're so sorry what's happened. That's not our style. It's not what we do. Whatever we can do to help get the trumpet back on the road, we will. And so, thankfully, I mean, we won the test next morning, flew to Wellington. There's a great trumpet brass repair shop in Wellington. Thank you, Facebook, for that. Facebook hive mind, trumpet players around the world. Very, very grateful. Took it to them, and they managed to repair it and get it up and running back to its pretty much original state within a day. And Cricket New Zealand gracefully paid for the repair, which is amazing. It's amazing. That's such a class act. And
but we lost the test, mate.
Wellington.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what though? It was such a good test match. It was such an exciting test match. I didn't have that feeling of immense despair that I sometimes get at England losing matches. It was the context of that game. Within the context of that game, losing was not the most important thing. I don't think, just to me, this is my own personal thing. I know it wasn't. Not everyone felt the same. Speaking to some of our members afterwards, but just the way. Also, we almost pulled it out of the fire with Ben Folkes' magic knock, and then he holed out, didn't he? Sort of cow cornerish, and it was I was like, oh no. And it was so close. It was so close. And it was, even though it was just one run is just one run, and it could have gone either way. And it was still been just great again.
So drawing to a close now, how are we going to get on in India? Do you like baseball?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's amazing. And I know people get a bit. I know people can be a bit snotty. Well, not snotty, but just derogatory about the term baseball. But it's just a term that was. I think it was Andrew Miller of Cricinfo who coined it, and it's just a kind of a catch-all phrase that covers the spirit of playing. It doesn't necessarily refer to the bowling specifically or the batting. It's more about an attitude, and I like this attitude. After starting with the Barmy Army and watching, I think 16 losses out of 17 or something like that. I've forgotten what it was. from my first time playing with the Barmy Army to Stokesy taking over. But yeah, I haven't seen lots of disappointing matches. Watching my first series away in the West Indies, that Test series in 22. Yeah, that was something that was disappointing, you know. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it very much. I don't know what's going to go on. I mean, we don't know. The thing about the Barmy Army, it's unconditional support. That's how the Barmy Army started. It was, there's a certain amount of gallows humour in the fact that you know, we were getting absolutely humped by the, if you pardon the expression, by the Aussies back in the mid 90s. And so the Barmy Army comes into its own when England's backs are against the wall, because that's what we're there to do, to try and drive the team on to greater heights. So whichever way it goes, I'm looking forward to it. And it'll be the same in the summer. We've got some good stuff planned for the summer as well. Thanks very much, Simon, for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion. Have a fantastic time in India. Keep hold of that trumpet. Have a fantastic 2024. You've got, as you say, 14 test matches. You've got women's matches. You might even get to that T20 World Cup. You never know. And you've got to fit in some gigs as well. I have, yeah. Well, I mean, the summer's going to be busy anyway, because we've got the home summer, and I know the whole thing about the Barmy Army is we're trying to bring that sort of away tour experience to the home fans with some of our events. Like we've got our Barmy Bingo events up and down the country. During most of the test matches. We had one of those in Barbados, which was just legendary. If anyone wants to go to our social media feeds and look at Barmy Bingo Barbados, I mean, it was absolute scenes. It was fantastic. So we've got that. And then we're also planning now for the Ashes in 25-26, because of how amazing the series was last year. That we've had a lot of interest already from fans. Yeah, of course, no one could go last time as well. That's right. Who want to go out. So what we've done is that we've done they've got this prepayment thing, so you can if you're interested in coming on tour to Australia, but you know, obviously it costs a fair bit. We're doing this prepayment plan where you pay a little deposit, and then you can pay in instalments right up until the departure date, and you can pay at your own pace. We've had a lot of interest with that, and we've even got some bookings from that. So that's the sort of stuff. That's what we're looking forward to in the future. So it's not just about this summer, it's about planning, 2 or 3 years in advance. Because you can do that with Test cricket, because you see the FTA, the Future Tour Programme, so that's great. You look like you've got a packed tour yourself. Thanks very much for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion. My pleasure. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Sports Social Podcast Network.